and welcome to another exciting show. And tonight, there's no introduction. We've got Yorkshire Deb and we've got John.
Yorkshire John, in fact. Yeah.
Yorkshire John from Barbados, me from Fockham, and you're from
the city of Leeds.
City of Leeds. That's right, it's a bit Birmingham.
That's Birmingham.
That's Birmingham. So we've got fantastic places. You know, I mean, let's face it, I'm a professional bullshitter, and being His Royal Highness from Fockham Hall, you know. Well, first of all, we've got some call outs to do, and John is a bit Tom and Dick. He's not fit, he's got a bit of a cold, so we've got to witch him better. And I'll find a tinkly music, and at the same time, we'll wish survivalist Dave well, because he's a bit under the weather, isn't he? Yes. So let's do a bit the old.
He's just a bit exhausted. He's all right, but he's just a bit off colour at the minute. Yeah.
It won't be when we've done this. There we go.
Actually, I'm thinking of having that as the introduction music to the proposed Thursday show.
Yes.
It's probably this Thursday. What we're going to do with Miles. So that's coming along soon. There's a lot of planning to do with it because we're going to go live on Facebook at the same time.
Yeah.
And then build our audience up, because what I've found is if we go to another channel, there's a lot of loyal people that will come over, but there's a lot of people that won't come over. So we'll have our loyal people here. So that's it. Also, he was going to do an agony heart session tonight, wasn't we? Where we speak like this, but we haven't rehearsed it, so we're going to do it next week. No, we're going to have people.
You know what? The real reason is you just couldn't be asked, could you?
That's
no.
Couldn't be asked.
Couldn't be asked. No.
Well,
tonight, we got a lot in chat tonight, and we.
We've got good evening, Bob Hollyoak from Rugby, I believe. Am I right? Rugby.
Yes.
Yep.
Rugby. Yeah.
Sebastian Moran's in. Good evening, Sebastian. We've got Kim in.
Sebastian.
Hello, Kim.
Hello, Kim. Don't mention anything about zero water filters.
Don't mention the war.
Don't mention water filters. It's a bit of a sore point with her.
Right.
She's ordered them. Cheap. Miles is selling them very reasonably, but not mail order. You have to go to his shop to get them.
Right.
But I think that you can get on that you can buy off the internet. So there we go. Zero water filters, and I don't know what he's selling them for. You know.
Right.
Anyway, over to you.
Adamant. Evening.
Evening, Adam.
Good evening to Joe Weeks.
Sure, that's your real name.
Hello, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Have a go, Joe.
Evening to Kevin. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
I'm just scrolling down here. We've got Richard on Solent's bobbed in. That's nice. Evening, Joe, Chris, Deb, and John.
Hi, Richard.
Hello, Richard.
My mate Dragon Noir. He's in.
Good. Hello, Dragon Noir. I can't remember your name.
We've got quite a few coming since then. We've got Kath's in. And then we've got
Hi, Kath.
Hatchie Louise. We've got Aunt Sally in. And we've got Paul Green.
Oh, that's good. And Hatchie, don't mention anything about Screwfix, because it starts his sense of humour off. Do you remember that Screwfix joke? Yes, he sent off to a dating agency, Screwfix, and he just got a magazine through. It's all about sort of screws and nails and things, and nothing about dating whatsoever.
No.
So
That's a shame.
Yes. So tonight we're going to speak about. I like that. That's nice, isn't it? Oh, I like that along the bottom there. That's good. Because I'm leaving the chat room to Deb. She's very, very good at the chat room. And when we do the Thursday show, plug, not this Thursday, Deb's going to do the YouTube chat room, and I'll be doing the Facebook, the Arse About Facebook chat room. And yes, it should be quite exciting. And also, John, I believe, will be coming on, kicking and screaming on that one as well. And we're going to have some exciting guests. But the
Well,
trouble
this
is,
Thursday.
not this Thursday. It's a bit of planning going into it, because Miles is going to advertise it from his shop.
Right.
Well, so we're going to have about a week or two's leading to it.
Oh.
So they're going to be people that go to his shop that will
All
be
right,
listening, things like that.
Yeah.
So and I'm hoping to get the people, what makes you Tom and Dick, but the trouble is they can't go on YouTube because of what?
Because of the subject matter, I think you're trying to
Right.
say.
And I can't go on because BitChute is a back alley. You notice, there's only, I think there's one bloke and his dog watching here.
Yeah. From what I've heard, it's quite hard to find apparently.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
don't know.
But Rumble, there's a Rumble in the jungle. I might be going to Rumble. You never know. So there we go.
The biggest problem I've found with BitChute is that the search facility in there is absolutely useless. It just you've got to key in it exactly, or else it doesn't find it. It's just
exactly
useless.
That's the other problem.
And also, it's from Swindon in Wiltshire. It's English, and I think the Americans haven't. Some of them have discovered it, and some of them haven't. But I think that Rumble is the place. But the trouble is that we've got to get some lolly in because you've got to pay for Rumble.
Yeah.
But I know that I won't mention who it is, but shall we say the English Constitution Party has gone over to Rumble, and his figures have shot through the roof.
Right.
And so it might be worth it, but I don't really want it to become monetized, so to speak. Spend so much and get this and get that. I don't like that. It's a bit uncomfortable to me, but we might have to do it. We'll see how it goes. But we're going to try.
Aunt Sally's got a point there. There's no excuse for BitChute's search facility being so bad in this day and age. That's very true. Very true.
That is true. Yes. But you're quite right. Hadji's got an interesting one there, Deb. Yes, that's correct. That's true. That's very true. That is. Yeah, we won't read it out, for obvious reasons. No, because it sends off the klaxons in YouTube HQ. Anyway, JFK or Kennedy, as he's known to his mates, a very English coup. I believe you wrote a book, John, about him.
Oh yeah.
By some coincidence, here it is.
It's called JFK: A Very British Coup, and it's available on Amazon. And
that's
amazing.
No good
bookstores.
That's right.
Is it available from your website as well, John?
No, you can't. My website's not interactive. I mean, you can get my email address off my website and email me and ask for a signed copy. But you can't actually buy it interactively off. That's my email. But no, you can't actually buy it direct from my website. Although they are described, my books are described on my website. Although I'm very, very bad at keeping my website up to date. Actually, I haven't posted an article on there for weeks and months. Actually.
Oh no.
I know, it's shocking. I've been so busy podcasting. I've been doing like 6-7 podcasts a week.
Yeah. Busy boy.
I know.
Very
too much, really. I'm having a bit of a break soon.
Do right.
Well, don't blame you. But no, actually, Bob said something about BitChute is the new YouTube. I don't think so.
No.
It's really a back alley.
It probably would be if it worked correctly.
Yes, and also if you could do live shows, because the only place you can do live shows is, as well I know of, is YouTube and Facebook, and you can do it on Telegram and places like that, but nobody's looking at it really.
No.
Also, obviously for Rumble and places, but again, you've got to pay for Rumble, and some people can do it from Odyssey, I believe. But
Bob's mentioned Odyssey.
Yeah, I gave up with Odyssey because it said I haven't got credits or something. Don't know what they're on about. And brand YouTube, everybody goes on to Dr. What's-It on there and looks at him and then buggers off. They don't bother looking at him. I got an amazing response from brand YouTube. I think I've got 3 people. Maybe may have gone up to 4 by now because nobody really, it's people go on there for a specific reason to see these people and then off again.
There you go.
I mean, a lot of people are just not even aware that these places exist. Some of them, I mean, a lot of people are just not even aware that these places exist. Some of them, I mean, things like Brand New Tube, and there's all sorts of, obscure ones that just people are just not aware of them. If they're not widely advertised, or if they are, they're suppressed in some way by probably by YouTube or somebody.
Well, thanks, answer. I've given up with Odyssey. D-Live. That might be a possibility. And Adam Adamant said there's one called Getter. Never heard of it. Getter?
No.
I'll make one of these.
Another one to look into?
Getter, yes. Because I know there's one by Google, which is for gamers. And I went on there, it's all kids' games, and I've just put people off. That's a lie. But apparently, I think you can only do it for the moment.
You'd have the same. If it's Google, you'd have the same issues as YouTube anyway. So that wouldn't be.
Right. Yeah. But I think, to be straight with you, Rumble is the one that is infecting me because there's a heck of a lot of people going over to it. And there's one that's done by that health bloke, Natural Health, Mike something or other. But again, there's not that many people on there at the moment, But you go on to Rumble, there's loads of people that have been banned from YouTube on Rumble. So, Twitch, that's it. Yes, Twitch is the one. God. That reminds me about the sales rep gag. Before we go to JFK, do you want to hear the sales rep gag?
Go on, then.
About Twitch.
Go on.
Bloke goes for a job as a sales rep. You see, he's got this Twitch, you see, and he said the fellow's interviewing him. Says you've got all the qualifications for the job, but he said if you're meeting customers, you can't have this sort of Twitch, you see. So he said, "Oh, it's okay." So I take aspirins. You probably heard it before. I take aspirins, and it goes. Really? He said, "Well, do you think you could, take some aspirins now so that you can prove to us before we hire you for the job that the Twitch does go?" He said, "Certainly." So opens his briefcase, loads of contraceptives in there. Goes into his suit pocket, more contraceptives, more contraceptives, more contraceptives. I said, "Blimey," he says, "you a sex maniac?" He said, "No." He said, "Ever been to a chemist shop and asked for a bottle of aspirins?" That's a terrible one.
Yeah, that's the dad joke.
Even by your standards, that is scraping the bottom of the barrel, mate.
Yes, well, that was from, I think, my uncle's gag book, 1953. I think that came out. Anyway, without further ado, JFK. Now, I was going to have an intro with a picture of him going in the car, but the trouble is that when you try and put that on YouTube, it says a black screen comes up and says it might be for sensitive people and all that sort of stuff. So
siren.
Yes, but
there are lots of interesting photographs that have never seen the light of day, or not hardly seen the light of day, that have been suppressed. But yeah, just to give people background, just to begin with, those who've not read my book or heard of this sordid tale before. Oh, am I on my own?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I believe. Thanks.
Okay, Deb, we're going down the curry house, right?
Sorry, go on.
Sorry.
You bastards, come back! Yeah, you've put me off now. I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah. Those of you who've not read my book, JFK, that was it. Yeah. I knew it was a load of initials, but I can't remember which they were. Those of you who have not read my book, basically the story is fairly unique, I believe, to me, and it is a result of a lot of research, as always, and I believe that it was controlled and run by the British Crown, the JFK assassination, and there are various reasons for that, which I'll go into shortly. But I'd just like to start off by, I'm going to have to read this because I can't remember all the details. But actually, I also believe that the assassination itself was actually a Masonic ritual, called the Killing of the King. Now, this Killing of the King ritual dates back to the murder of Hiram Abiff in King Solomon's Temple in Masonic legend. And they've used these ritualized murders to dispose of enemies all down the all down the ages, and the assassination of JFK was just one such. There's been plenty of others. Princess Diana was another. Freemasonry does not believe in murdering a man in just any old way. And in the JFK assassination, it just went to incredible lengths and took great risks in order to make this heinous act of theirs correspond to this, what's an ancient fertility oblation called the killing of the king. Okay. Now, here are some interesting facts for those of you who are unaware before we actually get into the meat of the topic, which will kind of illustrate why both JFK and Abraham Lincoln were murdered using this ritual. Okay. Now, interesting coincidences here. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. JFK was elected to Congress in 1946. Lincoln was elected president in 1860. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. The names Lincoln and Kennedy both have 7 letters. Both were involved in civil rights issues. Both their wives lost children while in the White House. Both men were shot on a Friday. Both were shot in the head. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. And guess what? Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both the successors were named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. And Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth, who murdered Lincoln, was born in 1839. And Lee Harvey Oswald, who allegedly killed Kennedy, was born in 1939. Both assassins were known by all 3 of their names. Both names are comprised of 15 letters. Lincoln was shot at the Ford Theatre. Kennedy was shot in a Ford Lincoln Continental car. Booth escaped from a theatre and was caught in a warehouse. Oswald escaped from a warehouse and was caught in a theatre. Now, I've said this many, many times, but I don't believe in coincidences. The murders of both those people were totally ritualistic in design and operation. And the fact that neither story of the subsequent escape of the assassins is true is totally significant. It's totally irrelevant. It's the perception by the masses of the ritual and the ritualized account itself that is the critically important factor in this. So, what do you think of that then, Christopher and Deb? You really have gone for a take, haven't you? Oh, and you're back.
I think that's quite amazing. Sorry, I've turned my microphone off. That's amazing because I've never heard it from that angle before.
I've heard all that.
Right.
I haven't, because they always say, Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, I said to somebody I know, I said about JFK, and they said, oh yes, Lee Harvey Oswald shot him. Well, he couldn't have shot him. There's no way.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there that actually believes that Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy.
Oh, I met people do. Yes.
No, yeah. Well, I'm sure there will be some,
but that research is quite amazing, because I did know they did look into it, that about the secretaries, Johnson and Lincoln and that type of thing, but I didn't know the birth dates. That was really incredible, and exactly 100 years prior. But with the first, the assassination of Lincoln, am I right in saying that John Wilkes Booth was actually an agent from the, I won't mention the family's name, but begin with R, who are in banking, because I know John Wilkes Booth's great-great-great-granddaughter is married to Tony Blair.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And he was a member of the Golden Dawn, which is a Freemasonic cum Illuminati, organization. Really? Yeah.
According to the late great Dave Starbuck, he said John Wilkes Booth was allowed to escape because his dental records, they found through his dental records, he turned up in, I think it was Ohio in 1908. He's still alive. He's allowed to escape.
Who's that, sorry?
That was John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't killed. Yeah, it certainly wasn't killed. You know, they reckon it was caught in this warehouse somewhere in the, you know, back of beyond, and then it was shot trying to escape apparently, but it wasn't. Definitely not. Absolutely, definitely not. That's a side issue. So anyway, that was just to set the scene. If I may continue.
Certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the best place is, I mean, it's a massive topic, just as everything else is. You know, it's going to be difficult to do justice to it all. And I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, because I say it at the beginning of every podcast that I do, but it's true. But I think probably the best place to start is with a background to the way in which the world really works and who's really in charge. I mean, I guess 99% of you guys out there know this already, but I just want to set the scene. Okay, there's an entity out there called the Crown Empire, which is nothing to do with the royal family. Well, it kind of is obliquely to do with the royal family, but it's more to do with the people who really run the world. And this is based out of the City of London. Now, the Crown and the City of London are not subject to the UK Parliament in any way, shape, or form. The City of London, by the city I mean the square mile financial district. It's a totally independent private entity answering to no legally elected authority, and is a sovereign state within a state, although it doesn't actually bear the title of country. To all intents and purposes, it actually is. And it's the financial hub of the world, as everyone knows, and yet it's a privately owned organisation with no public accountability whatsoever. And just to be clear, as I say, the Crown doesn't specifically refer to the British monarchy at all. If you think about it, it's like there are 3 city-states. There's Washington, D.C., Vatican City, and to that you can add the City of London. They are all totally independent states within states. Only Vatican City has been accorded the title of an actual country, but the other 2 act independently of their host countries, and to all intents and purposes, even though they're not called countries, they are. Okay, and even more significantly, this is just setting the scene, by the way, but this is the thrust of the book and where the book's coming from. So the British Parliament is totally enthralled to the Lord Mayor of the city. Even, you know, what I'm trying to say here, you know, obviously the financial heart of the city is ruthlessly, and I mean ruthlessly, dominated by the Rothschild-controlled Central Bank of England. And the Rothschilds have personally chosen the Lord Mayor of the city, which is a totally separate Lord Mayor to the one of the rest of London, for the last 200 years. So, as with any kind of investigation, research, we should always follow the money. And in this case, it leads to the elite banking families, such as the Rothschilds and their ilk. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about this, but you know, there are 13 families, there are 13 Illuminati families, but the membership's not completely static. 13 is, of course, a satanic number with magical and occult power. But there is little doubt that the existence of this organization, the Crown Empire, is to enslave humanity in order to bring about the New World Order. And we've recently seen this manifested just lately in all its glory and what's been going on. You know, the conspiracy, the overall grand conspiracy, is often attributed to various different sources. But you know, like people like the Illuminati, Zionists, the Vatican, Jesuits, Freemasons, Black Nobility, Bilderberg Group. But I think the truth is probably that it's more of a complex hybrid of all those elements that make up the whole sorry mess. But the real villains are, you know, they're those at the heart of our economic and cultural life. These are the dynastic families, such as the royal families of Europe, who got very strong contact, links to the Bank of England. Nobody knows who the real shareholders of the Bank of England are, but it's certainly not government owned, and it's heavily suspected to be, royal in nature. of course, the US Federal Reserve as well, and all the associated cartels. They control the entire world's monetary system, the World Bank, the IMF, all the intelligence agencies. But of course, their identity is meant to be kept secret. So, yeah. But the great majority of people, as I say, assume that the phrases the Crown and the City refer to London, sorry, in reference to London, refer to the Queen or the capital of England, but that's not true. As I say, it's a privately owned corporation and sovereign state. The population of the City of London is 4,000, as opposed to the rest of London, which is about 8 million. The square mile, City of London, city, has its own mayor, its own laws, courts, flag, police, emergency services, and newspapers. And as I say, it's characteristic of all three of those independent city states. I just digress for a second, and then we can go to chat if you want. But I was, my job when I was working for a living, I was involved in software consultancy. I used to work for a large software company who provided software to large corporations and large councils, things like accountancy software and things like that. And one of our customers was the City of London Corporation. Now, I remember when I went down to do a presentation to them about our software, they were very, very interested, and eventually we won the contract. But before we signed it on the dotted line, they said, "Yeah, this is, we love the software, it's fantastic, and it's just what we're looking for. But, and it's a big but, the fields, the data fields in the software are not big enough. So our software only went up to 8 digits, which is £99,999,999. So and that meant that a maximum transaction could be £100 million in effect, or 100 million of whatever currency. So that was just the fields in the software coding, if you like. So it meant that you couldn't exceed 100 million in effect for one single transaction. They said, "Yeah, 8's not quite enough for us." I said, "Oh, right." I said, "Well, how many do you need then?" 14. Right. So they needed a 14-digit field for a single transaction, or for a possible single transaction. I just thought that was quite interesting. I mean, I can't remember what that is now without actually sitting down and working it out, but I'm pretty sure it's several trillion, not hundreds of trillions, or even thousands of trillions. I can't remember what it is. 14 digits. Anyway, somebody in chat work it out while I'm talking, and write in chat what that figure represents. And that was what they required as a possible transaction size in their software coding. So yeah, we set to work and rewrote the whole bloody thing. It actually cost us more money than we made out of it, but it was it was prestigious to have them as customers. I think that was the bottom line. So yeah. I don't know if you want to go into chat at this point, but
beforehand though, I mean, sorry, Deb, I didn't mean to steal it under that, but you're quite right about the City of London Police, because when I worked at Billinsgate Redevelopment, I hasten to add I wasn't in the banking industry, in architecture. We had a funny incident, which I've mentioned on a previous programme, with a City of London policeman coming in, and we belittled him. But the thing is that they're apparently, allegedly, I believe, the City of London Police are supposed to be about as bent as an iron bob note.
Well, what a shock.
Yes,
and
surprise.
The police cars, the City of London police cars are red. Did you know?
Are they?
No. Really? I didn't know that, because I've heard from several sources. Well, according to, I'll quote Dave Starbuck again, in the 1960s, that City of London police were pushing people off the top of high-rise buildings if they didn't. They're involved in the protection racket. Was that true or not? I do not know, allegedly, but I haven't got the evidence. And also from Mark Windows, he was saying that there was something going on there. They're into quite a bit of racketeering, but I can't really go any further because, again, allegedly, if you ask me for the evidence, I haven't got it, so I can't. But they're quite, reputable people who told me that thing. But
there's also something. There's also an unelected person that sits in the House of Commons behind the Speaker's chair, apparently. So I'm told. Somebody might contradict this. Called the Remembrancer. Now, the Remembrancer is a representative, an unelected representative of the City of London that sits in Commons to make sure they don't pass any laws or do anything that goes against the interests of the city.
Right.
Yeah, you see, democracy, the best system money can buy.
Mad.
We won't talk about you, will we? That's another subject.
Right, Kath's saying she heard even the Queen needs special permission from the Lord Mayor of the City of London to enter the zone.
Correct. When the Queen enters the city on official business, because that's the only time she ever goes there, she has to bow to the Lord Mayor of London.
Okay.
Or curtsy, or whatever they do. I don't know. Curtsy, bow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sebastian saying the Chancellor is supposed to be the go-between for the people and what controls the Bank of not England.
Yeah, I think the key word there, mate, is supposed.
Yeah. And we've got an answer to your mathematical question that you asked.
Oh, yeah.
From Dan Mac. There you go.
Effing mess. Yeah, you've hit it on the head, Dan. That's the very phrase I was looking for. Effing massive. Yeah. I think it's even effing massiver than effing massive, to be honest.
Yeah, it probably is, yeah. Sounds like
Beaver Crinnan's now, is it?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, sorry. I can't even read that, but anyway, there's lots of nines. 99 trillion.
Thank you. Well done, V. Yeah. And don't forget, this is just one transaction. This is just one transaction. They needed to process a transaction that could possibly be that large.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm talking 30 years ago, so goodness knows what it is now. It could be 17 digits now for all I know.
Oh, it's plus 20.
I like it at the budget when they say, oh, pensioners will be better off by 35 pence a month. Things like that.
After tax.
Marvelous, after tax. And petrol will be going down by half a p or a p, 1 penny per gallon. It'd be perhaps about 20 pence. No, sorry, per litre. It's litres now. Biggest rip-off ever. It's all a complete rip-off. But of course, what we must never talk about is the elephant in the room, which is usury. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
anyway, on to shall we go onwards now? Because I think I'll get the bit. This is interesting.
So the Crown has never referred to the King and Queen of England, not since the establishment of the corporate body anyway. But the British monarchy is, of course, a figurehead for the Crown, although they're not directly connected in a sense. Yeah. So just to summarise that a little bit, the city-state of London, it's the ultimate state centre of financial power, and it's the wealthiest square mile on the planet. And it's obviously, unsurprisingly, home to the privatised Bank of England, Lloyd's of London, the Stock Exchange, the headquarters of all British and many foreign banks as well. It's home to the branch offices of 385 foreign banks, plus 70 US banks, as well as many newspapers and publishing monopolies. It totally controls the world's media and the world's intelligence services. And it's from within that Crown City of London that British Freemasonry, overseen by the British monarchy, of course, is governed. This includes the Grand Orient Masonic Order and the American version, which is for some reason called Scottish Rite Freemasonry. So I could go into loads more detail, but I'm not going to do it because I think I've made that point now. So the point is that this is a very, very, very powerful organization. Okay. And connected to that, as I said, there's the Rothschilds family, there are the Rockefeller family, the Gore family, Greenspan family, the Kissinger family, the Krugman family, who own the New York Times, the Powell family, Gates, Buffett, Bush, and there is something that reports directly to the Crown called the Committee of 300. Now, the Committee of 300 is who all those names I've just read out are part of, and it is they that control just about everything that goes on. Yeah, so you might ask, why are all those American families members of this foreign committee, i.e. the Committee of 300? And the answer is simply because the Crown, and get this, some people's jaws are going to drop. Sorry about that. Bit of a faux pas there. The answer is because the Crown still owns the private corporation, otherwise known as the United States of America. Okay.
It's interesting. Queen apparently owns. We've got the monster in the background. The Queen actually owns Canada, and the Canadians only officially own 1 foot of soil beneath their feet,
Right.
and she owns the rest of it. So
well, there is a very, very strong case to be made for the fact that the UK still controls the United States of America, which, as I say, I've done podcasts on this in America, and they've been absolutely indignant. Oh no, we got our independence. Oh no, you didn't. Yeah, I mean, there's a guy. I would recommend, if anybody's interested in this topic, and he writes about it in far greater depth than I do, a guy called Michael Edward. He wrote a book called "The US Constitution Gave Legal Ownership and Control of the United States to London." And he wrote, and this is a quote, let me just find this. He wrote, it's quite a long one, so bear with me. He wrote, "Neither the American people nor the Queen of Britain own America. The Crown Temple owns America through the deception of those who have worn their allegiance by oath to the Middle Templar Bar. The Crown bankers and their Middle Templar attorneys rule America through unlawful contracts, unlawful taxes, and contract documents of false equity through debt, deceit, all strictly enforced by their completely unlawful but legal Crown Temple courts and our so-called judiciary in America. This is because the Crown Temple holds the land titles and estate deeds to all of North America. Many of you are aware that the laws of this nation and its states were made to be in compliance and submission to the laws of England, only modified by state and federal law. You will see in this last chapter state statutes from just a few of the original colonies that this is the case. Are these what are called ancient statutes? Yes. However, since the King's Corporation is alive and well, as are his heirs, so is his trust and the law used to create and govern it. The law that governs this trust can only be amended. No law could be enacted contrary to the King's will. The main corporate soul where office is always found the Crown. The King's practice of granting lands in this country to those loyal to him continues, along with their land grants being protected by state ancient statutes, which are still on the books. We are governed by the King's nobles, just as in times of old England, self-proclaimed nobles and corporate trusts. They rule this country and the world. The huge corporations have been granted power and liberty not known by the common man. The nobles, real and created, occupy their possessions as fiduciaries and trustees of the King's grant only if they remain loyal to the system. Their privilege and lifestyle are their reward. So what in effect that means, for anyone who's in any doubt whatsoever, is that America never ever gained independence, and that the War of American Independence was a sham to create the impression that America had become independent while still remaining the property of the English Crown. So
wow,
it's massive. Yeah.
It is massive. But the one thing that comes to mind, John, if you come across here, is that you can actually see it. I think it was about a year or two back. They opened the records. Might have been further back, I don't know. That showed that America planned to go to war with Britain in the 1930s, and all it needed is to be rubber stamped by the president of those times for them to go ahead. And they planned to actually invade Great Britain. How, I just do not know. But
I've heard this. I've never looked into it.
It was actually on the mainstream. It was actually reported on the mainstream. I think I'm talking about probably 10 years ago. They were talking about this, but you can look this up, and that's why when World War II started, they didn't expect Britain to be an ally. They expected Britain to be their enemy, and that's why they were so well prepared. They could say that America wasn't prepared for World War II, but it pretty well was in some ways. But if you look that up, they definitely planned. They said the next war would be with Great Britain, and that was. So I wonder if that was like a crown thing. It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It could have been their attempt at kind of breaking loose from the shackles, you know. But if anybody's interested, as I say, read Michael Edwards' book, The U.S. Constitution Gave Legal Ownership and Control of the United States to London. It's absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's not making this stuff up. It presents documentary evidence by the bucket load to say that this is actually true. So there was a treaty in 1783, which was just after the Americans declared independence, and when it actually became when the United States was constituted. And the Treaty of 1783 identified and openly named the King of England, who was King George III at the time, as a prince of the newly formed United States. Now, George III ostensibly rescinded his claims over the American colonies, but he vehemently maintained his rights to continue receiving payments for his business venture of colonizing America. Yeah. So, I mean, in order to gain international recognition for the American Declaration of Independence, the Middle Templar, King George III, agreed in this Treaty of Paris, 1783, to establish the legal crown entity of the incorporated United States, which were referred to internally as the Crown Temple States. States, spelled with a capital letter S, denotes a legal entity of the Crown. And at least 5 Temple Bar attorneys, under solemn oath to the Crown, signed the American Declaration of Independence. And the implications of this are quite stunning. That is that both parties to the agreement, Britain and the American colonists, were quite openly agents of the Crown. And furthermore, not many people know this, but there have been 2 constitutions in the United States. The first one was illegally suspended in favor of a Vatican-led Crown corporation in 1871. And this, in effect, means that there's been what amounts to a shadow government in place since 1871. The first constitution was obviously penned by the founding fathers of the newly independent United States in 1776. But the second one, 95 years later in 1871, the original constitution, and I quote this, it was called the Constitution for the United States of America, was changed and replaced by, in all capital letters, and I think most people out there know what that means, the Constitution of the United States of America. And so since 1871, the US president and the United States Congress has been operating under an entirely different set of rules and policies. US citizens, and obviously the rest of the world as well, are, for the most part, blissfully unaware of the 2 distinctly different constitutions of the United States. So basically, I mean, that is fact. There's no, it's not up for debate. This is actual fact. This is documented, and is proof. This information might be unbelievable in many respects to some, but I do assure you that it's the absolute truth. but I don't want anybody to take my word for it. I would encourage anyone to just undertake the simple bit of research. A few minutes investigating it for yourself, as with anything else, will confirm that everything I've outlined is totally correct. So, given all that, it's perhaps now less difficult to understand that anyone, and Kennedy being a prime example, who attempts to swim against the tide, and I'll come on to that in a moment because we're actually getting to the meat of it very shortly. So anybody who attempts to swim against the tide, as Kennedy did in massive ways, in an aspect of his assigned role, would undoubtedly be risking his life, and by openly and frequently scorning these entities, by attempting to take back his own country. Now, JFK was well known as being his own man and not someone who'd meekly bow down to authority in any way. He had many, many indiscretions, not just sexual ones, which I think most people are aware of the fact that he put it about a bit, shall we say. But he had constant ongoing battles with loyal Crown acolytes, such as Lyndon Johnson, J. Edgar Hoover, who was head of the FBI, Big Oil, the Bush dynasty, the newly emerging state of Israel, Zionism in general, and other divisions of the Crown, even such as the mafia. The mafia are all controlled by the Crown Empire as well. So this would be the reason for his downfall, and hence the reason for my book title, JFK, A Very British Coup. I mean, it was really naive of Kennedy. I mean, he wasn't. I mean, I don't say he was a stupid person, but he was certainly naive to believe that he could actually get away with what he attempted to do. Maybe he wasn't in possession of the full facts and was unclear of exactly who and what unimaginable wealth and power he was actually setting himself up against. So I'll pause.
Mostly people in politics are very naive. A lot of politicians are. But shall we go for an advert break? I feel one coming on. Do you?
Yeah.
And we go
for it. Yeah, and then we'll get onto the actual mechanics of the assassination and what happened.
Yeah. Two exceptional adverts coming on, and are you ready to stand to attention? And here we go with the first one.
Hello. Are you partial to something a little different? Do you like to give the two-finger salute to mainstream media? Then look no further than Fockham Hall Radio. With its charming mix of information and lots of archive footage, it really is a treat for the senses. You will surely exclaim, "Well, butter my crumpets," when you peruse all that Fockham Hall has to offer. So just pop along, quick sticks, to www.fockhamhallradio.com. You'll be assured of a super spiffing time, and as we like to say, Fockham Hall.
Hey, and also, you see, you're going to do one with Miles, and if you walk into his shop and go like that and say 0 water filters, Chris sent me along, he'll give you something for your nervous twitch as well. So that's it. So, so this is Miles, where you get your 0 water filters cheaper than almost anywhere else.
Yes.
Come to Abbey Health Foods for competitively priced vitamins, minerals, etc., plus free advice. And remember, free delivery within 6 feet of the Abbey Health Food counter, subject to availability, of course. Vitamins and minerals can be posted throughout the United Kingdom post-free with orders over £35, subject to change, of course. Miles, the proprietor, is a qualified nutritionist, herbalist and acupuncturist. The main questions regarding acupuncture is, do you feel a prick? Well, I guess you may feel a little stupid. When phoning Abbey Health Foods, please remember to tell them you saw their advert on this show. So telephone 01992 650014. That's 01992 650014.
Do it.
And it's the proprietor's birthday this Wednesday.
Oh.
So a lot of us will probably be in there on Wednesday, So, and also he'll be giving out tablets for the nervous twitch when people go in and go, 0 water filters.
Right. Before John cracks on, then we've got a few comments. One from V saying Kissinger was the architect of Agenda 21 and the carbon tax.
Yes.
Kath Holdsworth saying, I believe UK controls everywhere, including the US. Our ancient
That's what I just said, really.
The USA would never believe that England rules them. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Truth be told, Ancient Ruby, no one truly owns anything on this earth, which is true. But
we're just borrowing it, aren't we, while we're here?
We are. And then Sailorways, didn't Germany have a deal with Britain over World War II, which the British broke?
Correct.
Yeah.
100% correct. And there's several. For example, there was a deal that we would not bomb civilian targets at the beginning of the war. And what happened?
And who broke that first?
Mr. Churchill. Correct. And when you see, they say, well, it was an excuse, really. There was some stray bombs that were close to London that were jettisoned, but it was a bit of a, it's a bit of a push because he wanted them to bomb the cities to relieve the pressure off the airfields.
Yeah.
So, but it was an actual deal. And also there was a deal that Germany did with the Isles of Scilly, and it still holds to this day, that what happened is a German ship went ashore accidentally. This was before World War II, and it was wrecked. And the people of the Isles of Scilly not only rescued the crew, but looked after them, and looked after them so well that Germany said that if ever the Isles of Scilly were attacked or the people were put into a difficult position, Germany would come to their aid. And they kept their word right the way through World War II. They didn't touch the Isles of Scilly. They said they'd never touch the Isles of Scilly, and they didn't. And that's true. Yeah. But mind you, there wouldn't really been a military significance, really. I wouldn't have thought the Isles of Scilly.
No, not really.
I think it's the only island that you can't see the mainland. That's part of Britain that you can't see the mainland from. And people say, well, what about the Channel Islands? Well, they've got their own government. Same with the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
But that's true there. So, is there any more in chat, Deb, or are we going to?
We've got a little message from Rafa Malachi who said, "Woohoo! Just seen this on my feed and jumped straight on. Even sent me mum your last one and she loved it too. Thanks, guys. You rock." From Kent.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, isn't that nice? Thank you so much. It makes it all worthwhile. Thank you. Okay, John. So
carry on.
Carry on. Whoa, this is interesting.
Right. Okay. Well, as I said right at the beginning, this was a ritualistic killing. With an upcoming election, Kennedy could easily have been disgraced or impeached as a result of any one of his numerous sex scandals. People like Marilyn Monroe were involved, a lady called Judith Exner, they were well-known lovers of his. And he could easily have been poisoned because that is the method of choice, except, for these people. Or he could have even had his death blamed on any one of his health problems. And he was a sick man, actually, even though the public were unaware of them at the time. So why wasn't this done? Surely it would have been simple, quick, effective, and inexpensive to accomplish it, with very few other people, if any, needing to be in on the plot. So why the elaborate charade? Well, as I said, it was a Masonic ritual dating back to the murder of Hiram Abiff in King Solomon's Temple in Masonic legend. And then since then, they've used all these similar ritualized murders to dispose of their enemies all down the ages. And the assassination of JFK, and as I say, Lincoln was just one episode. Masonry doesn't believe in murdering a man in just any old way. And in the JFK assassination, it went to incredible lengths and took great risks in order to make this correspond to that ancient fertility rite called the killing of the king. So, at present, I think it's fair to say the popular conspiratorial view is to blame the assassination on former Vice President Lyndon Johnson, future president. The LBJ killed JFK theme is widespread, especially, I mean, there's been something like 5,000 books written on the JFK assassination. And I can tell you that a lot of them focus on this theme because they don't look at the bigger picture. They don't look at the bigger picture. Most of these authors are blissfully unaware of everything that we've just been discussing in the last almost an hour. But it's you get this repetitive cacophony from the controlled media, and it's even sometimes echoed in the alternative media as well. And that is that Lyndon Johnson was the mastermind behind the murder of Kennedy because he wanted to become president, and he hated them. Well, they hated each other actually. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was lots of people involved. There were. Some of you out there will remember the movie JFK, which actually, that was the first time I'd heard of a lawyer called Jim Garrison who prosecuted somebody called Clay Shaw, and the 1991 film JFK presented the JFK conspiracy as the work of LBJ and the LBJ and the military top brass, aided and abetted by rogue CIA agents. But there was much, much more that Stone left out. But of course, that's the very essence of propaganda, isn't it? Only just tell little bits of the story. Now, JFK the movie, as I say, focused on the district attorney of New Orleans, Jim Garrison, who actually in 1969 prosecuted Clay Shaw, who was a longtime CIA asset, for his involvement in the JFK assassination conspiracy. But in doing so, Stone diverted attention away deliberately, I believe, from Shaw's link to a key figure in the global operations of the Rothschild banking dynasty, with its intrinsic connections to the crown. And this will certainly be no surprise to those viewers who are already aware of this ongoing global conspiracy and the key role of the Rothschilds within it. But if not, and I'm going to plug another one of my books here, for a fuller background to this, please refer to my book, Behind the Curtain. Now, it's quite a perverse irony that the movie JFK, which falsely and iconically defined Kennedy's assassination for both new generations and old, was made and financed by the very same Mossad entity that played a role in his horrific death. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Okay, but it wasn't the Mossad or indeed any of the usual suspects, including the CIA, Onassis, who was deeply involved, by the way, Meyer Lansky, the mafia boss, the mafia itself, Big Oil, the drug families, the military-industrial complex, LBJ, the Catholic Church, anti-Castro Cubans, FBI, Secret Service, or even the Federal Reserve alone that carried out this assassination. It was, in fact, all of the above, each playing a specific part, but all under the complete control and under the orders of the Zio globalist cabal, headed and driven in this instance by the British Crown through its subservient proxies, MI6 and the SOE, Special Operations Executive. But the actual task of executing Kennedy, and he was executed, fell to a unit of Britain's MI6 intelligence service, which I just mentioned, the Special Operations Executive, who were headed by Sir William Stevenson. Now, in addition to this, the Crown, the British monarchy, and the Rothschild, the ruling elite, the Committee of 300, they were all involved. It was what's known as an executive action, which is intelligence service speak for an assassination undertaken and controlled from the highest possible level. As with many, many other assassinations throughout the years, presidential or otherwise, the lone assassin lie has always served the elite cabal very well in the past. But as the years pass, with slightly better educated and slightly more cynical public who now have access to information via the internet, it's become increasingly more obvious that some of these newly awake members of society begin to think that there really was a conspiracy involved in Kennedy's death. So for that reason, the Zio-globalist cabal are very pleased indeed to be able to offer up the usual suspects for your delight and delectation. Now, some of you may know that when President Eisenhower, who was the immediate predecessor to Kennedy as the president, in his farewell speech, his last speech as president, he warned us to beware of the military-industrial complex. And I believe that the reason he did this is because he was priming us to see them as an evil power that could easily be blamed for anything. In much as same way as just saying the CIA did it. I mean, it actually discourages further scrutiny because we all know that they do these bad things. And so it tends to be taken as a standing joke rather than something that's deadly serious. And I believe that was the purpose of Eisenhower's speech, which seemed as though it was anti-establishment. But I believe, as with everything else in politics, that there was a method behind the madness, if you like. Yeah. So, the world, I mean, I'm old enough to remember it. I wasn't that old, but I do remember it. I remember coming home from school and, the family was in shock that, because he was an iconic man. I mean, he was a very charismatic, iconic man. He was no angel, but I definitely believe that he had the best interests of his country at heart, as well as his own, probably, to be fair. But, I think the world was traumatized by the fact that the very idea that this lone, disturbed individual, i.e. Lee Harvey Oswald, could murder the president of the free world. That was very troubling. But it was far less troubling to contemplate than the alternative possibility, and that is that the assassination was part of a larger, even more sinister plot. So let me just reiterate who was actually involved. CIA, FBI, Federal Reserve, Big Oil, drug cartels, the mafia, Israel, pro-Castro Cubans, anti-Castro Cubans, and no doubt many, many more, but all of which are controlled, of course, by the Committee of 300 under the auspices of the British Crown Empire. So why? Okay. Well, Kennedy, throughout his presidency, he'd made many, many enemies and was definitely a loose cannon. Someone who bows to no one and ploughs his own furrow, in effect. And as such, he was definitely no use to these entities who really are in control of world affairs. As we know, politicians are just puppets dancing to the tune of people who sit up here. And any kind of independent action is absolutely unacceptable. And as most people are aware, I assume Oswald was nothing more than a patsy, and he was actually murdered by Jack Ruby live on TV. I remember seeing that as well, so that he would be unable to publicly tell the truth at any kind of trial or inquiry into the assassination. And Jack Ruby, had strong connections to the Chicago mob, and he was also a known FBI informant too. But get this, in fact, there were two Oswalds. Now, just bear with me a second here. There were two Lee Harvey Oswalds. Well, I'm wrong. There were two Oswalds. One was called Lee Oswald and one was called Harvey Oswald. And this was a deliberate ploy to cause confusion in any after-event investigation. The two of them, who were not related and as far as is known, never met and were never aware of each other until after the event by the survivor, obviously, but they did look quite similar and had been groomed by the CIA from childhood to be used in some future false flag event, such as this assassination. Although, that wasn't actually planned at the time when they were growing up, but these were just like an insurance policy. The CIA have done this before. They do things like this all the time. They groomed these two people as a kind of an obfuscation of some future false flag event. But of course, it was the JFK assassination, and that was ultimately the use to which they were put. I go into far more detail about this in my book. I'm not saying that because I'm I just want you to buy the book, although that'll be very nice. I am saying it because there is far too much to cover than to go into the details about the relationship between the two Oswalds and how that all panned out. But it is a fascinating story. And again, it's all easily provable and documented and all the rest of it. But now, perhaps the biggest piece of fakery of all in all of that nonsense, and more importantly, a critical element in the distraction and deception of the JFK assassination, was the Zapruder film. Now, the Zapruder film, for those who are not aware, is that ubiquitous piece of footage of about 486 frames of film that allegedly shows Kennedy being shot in the head, and all the mayhem that ensued afterwards. Now, interestingly enough, Abraham Zapruder, who shot that film, was a 32nd degree Freemason and a rabid Zionist, with all the implications of that. Now, he allegedly heard shots coming from behind him. In other words, he was stood on a pillar on the grassy knoll, and he said he heard shots coming from behind him and watched in horror as the president's head exploded in a shower of blood and brain. And he said he saw him slam violently backwards and to the left. And this movement, estimated to between 80 and 100 feet per second, was consistent with a shot from the fence to Kennedy's front right, not from the book depository, which was at this point well to the rear of Kennedy. So the official story, straight from the horse's mouth, is how Zapruder just happened. He was just in the right place at the right time to capture in that 26 seconds of film one of the most iconic events of the 20th century. And history tells us that Zapruder handed over the footage to a Secret Service agent, and it was used as part of the formal investigation. But he later decided to sell the rights to the video to Life magazine, and he was paid $150,000 for that, and later $16 million by the American government. So nothing suspicious at all there. The thing about the Zapruder film is it didn't see the light of day until the early 1970s. So the issue with it is, I'll come straight to the point here. This has been examined by forensic photography experts over many, many years, and some of them intimately know all 486 of those frames, and they all, with a single voice, tell us that the entire thing is a fake from beginning to end. Every single frame of that film is an absolute fake. Now, for those of you who are wondering why there were no newsreel crews there filming the motorcade as it went up Dealey Plaza that Friday afternoon, well, there were. So where did all those films go? Answers on a postcard. There were several television film crews, as you'd expect. This was the president doing his public duty. There were several newsreel film crews. We have never, ever seen a single one of those films. Why not? And yet this is a Zapruder film, which actually didn't see the light of day until 1973, I believe, has become the de facto truth of the Kennedy assassination. There are so many witnesses against that being the truth. It's just unbelievable. And just a little aside from that, I detailed a lot of them in my book, but not all, because there are 250 instances of people who were witnesses to that assassination who died in very, very strange and suspicious circumstances within the next few years. Okay, so I detail the stories of a few of them, a few dozen of them in the book. but there was something like in total about 250 known victims of the tidying up after the event. Okay. Now, I'll just lighten the note for a moment, because I think, you know, it does get very, very morbid and depressing. Some of you may have heard of the great US comedian called Bill Hicks. Who, I mean, I'm an absolutely massive fan of Bill Hicks. And he was a very, shall we say, cynical comedian, but a very, very funny man. And he said, and here's a quote from him, he said, boy, I love talking about the Kennedy assassination. That's my favorite topic. You know why? Because to me, it's a great example of a totalitarian government's ability to, you know, manage information and just keep us in the dark anyway they, oh, sorry, wrong meeting. That's the meeting we're having at the docks tomorrow. No, I love talking about Kennedy. I was just down in Dallas, Texas, and, you know, you can go down there to Dealey Plaza where Kennedy was assassinated, and you can actually go to the 6th floor of the school book depository. It's a museum now called the Assassination Museum. I think they named that after the assassination, but I can't be too sure of the chronology here. But anyway, they have the window set up to look exactly like it did on that day. And it's really accurate, you know, painstakingly accurate, you know, because Oswald's not in it.
Yeah.
He said it's true. It's called the Sniper's Nest. It's glassed in. It's still got the boxes sitting there. You can't actually get to the window as such. But the reason they did that, of course, is they didn't want thousands of American tourists getting there each year going, no way, I can't even see the road. They're lying to us. And he also said, this is a separate issue. He also said, I have this feeling, man, because, you know, there's a handful of people actually run everything. That's true. It's provable. A handful, a very small elite group run and own these corporations, which include the mainstream media. I have this feeling that whoever's elected president, no matter what you promise on the campaign trail, blah, 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 when you win, you go into this smoky room in the basement of the White House with these 12 industrialist, capitalist scumfucks who got you in there, and you're in this smoky room and the little screen comes down and a big guy with a cigar says, roll the film. And it's a shot of the Kennedy assassination from an angle you'd never seen before that looks suspiciously off the grassy knoll. And then the film ends, the screen goes up and the lights come on. And then they say to the new guy, any questions, Mr. President? Just imagine that. That is
true.
Yeah.
I bet you that's true. Do you remember when Trump was elected and he went into this little room somewhere and he came out as white as a sheet?
Yeah.
It's a, you know,
No.
it looks as if he just sort of, I don't know, lost Strottons and found Tums, you know what I mean? Sort of, but it's you know,
Totally true, then,
what you said tonight. I mean, it really adds up. And Bill Hicks, did he die of natural causes, I wonder?
Well, he died of a very fast-acting cancer, which is a shall we say, a common method.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, remember,
he was only 31, by the way.
31. But when you look at what Jasper Carrot said about those cruise missiles, and he said something that made the military change their tactics. Do you remember that? When he said, well, how are they going to get where with all the traffic jams up the Watford Gap and all that? He said he reckons that Russia at that time during the Cold War would have targeted all their missiles on the Watford Gap because nothing would be able to get through. So what they do is just all go to the cafe there and have a cup of tea and a cigarette. So that's the way. That's what Russia will do. They'll or the USSR rather, as it was then. They'll target all their missiles to the Watford Gap. He was right. But, that was interesting what you just got there.
There's a question we've got a question from Kath Holsworth. John, what did you think of the documentary JFK 9/11? Everything is a rich man's trick.
I didn't see it, Kath. I'm sorry. What was the miss of it? What was the?
Maybe that's one for us all to have a look at.
If it was on mainstream, it's probably. Was it on mainstream or on a video channel or what?
Could have been on YouTube.
If it was
or
on
Netflix.
mainstream, then it's 90% certain it was footage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not seen it. Sorry.
But there's been a lot of there's a documentary.
So, yeah.
Once. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to cut across you there. Sorry, carry on, John. Sorry, I was cutting across you.
No, it's all right.
No, what I was going to say is there was a documentary about 20, 30 years
it's
ago.
fine. Carry on.
Where they got a crack shot, one of the best snipers they could find, ex-military, to go to the book depository, and they had a car go along with a target on it, and he got one shot in and missed.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't reload in time.
Yeah.
It's just impossible.
Because
it,
the alleged rifle that Oswald used was like a pre-World War II Italian-made rifle. I can't remember what Caracal or something. I can't remember the name of them. Something along those lines. Right, and it was just so clumsy. It was just okay. Thanks, Kath. Yeah, no, I've not seen it, but if somebody points me in the right direction, I will definitely watch that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was. I mean, even as you say, the best shot was it 4 Oswald allegedly got off in this, while the car was traveling at 25 miles an hour, which it was 25 miles an hour along Dealey Plaza. It just wouldn't have been possible.
Yeah.
So, it was a single action rifle. It wasn't, it wasn't like you not repeat firing. You had to
reload,
whatever it is. I don't know about guns. But reload. You had to pull a lever and maneuver it so that the next car is available or whatever. I'm not into guns, so I don't really understand it.
Because also, he was eating his meal at the DRV whilst the cavalcade was going through. He was actually eating his meal, and he said, because there's 2 girls on the staircase, that if Lee Harvey Oswald had shot they'd have seen him running down the staircase, and they didn't. They didn't see anybody down there.
He was actually getting a can of Coke out of a vending machine, and he was actually seen at the time the shots were ringing out. He was actually seen getting a can of Coke out of a vending machine at the time. But of course, that all gets covered up and obliterated. And
that one with Ruby shooting him. So am I jumping ahead there? I'm sorry.
No, not at all. No.
Because Ruby shot him, and the excuse was so loose. It was I wouldn't say laughable, but it was ridiculous. But he got away with it, didn't he, Jack Ruby?
Well, no, because he went to jail for it, but then he was killed in jail. He only served about 2 years. Again, our friend, the fast-acting cancer, again. Which is very convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, which V mentioned viral carcinoma.
Yes.
That he's put our friends that live in America's invention. There you go.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Apparently this video that cost 3.5 hours long.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, there was a book called The Great Zapruder Film Hoax, which is where I got most of my information from, written by a guy called Jim Fetzer. And it was published in 2003, I think. And in there, it just absolutely dissects all the mistakes that the forgers made in the film. Okay. And, it's a brilliant piece of work. Apparently, 25 named eyewitnesses actually saw the limo after the shots come to a complete stop for more than 3 seconds, during which time the fatal headshots occurred. But on the Zapruder film, there is no sign of the limo stopping at all. Okay, none. It's just a continuous thing. But the car actually stopped. And this, as we just discussed before we came on air, Chris, This points to the conclusion that myself and a lot of other people have come to, and that is that JFK was actually shot in the head by his own chauffeur.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And also, Lee McCrinner's just said, Chris says that you shot Kennedy. And I know what it was. Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald. That was the thing. I probably said it asked about face. Sorry about that. But it was interesting because I saw a photograph of, because you know that limousine had 3 sets of seats. Kennedy and his wife were sitting at the back. Then there was 2 security blokes in front of them. Then there was the driver and someone next to the driver. And the picture I saw was the security bloke flat on the floor in the middle, shall we say, so that the driver could get a clear shot of Kennedy.
Yeah.
Have you seen that picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. The one I can never understand is what was that bloke doing jumping on the back of the limousine?
Yeah.
Was he CIA? Was he a security bloke?
Yeah, I think to be fair, because Jackie was climbing out the back, wasn't she, to try and get away from whatever it was that was.
They always said he was trying to pick his brains off the boot of the car.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't really
do. I think the guy was obviously a Secret Service agent of some kind, and I think he was just trying to help her because she was like going crazy, climbing out the back of the car while it was still moving. So I think he jumped on the back to try and help her.
Yeah, but the thing is that it's a wonder she was allowed to live that long because she saw exactly what happened, or was she in on it? You just don't know.
That's what Ancient Ruby's just said. Said Jackie knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But look at Johnson. He actually didn't duck, did he? He sat in the car, didn't duck at all.
No.
Well, surely, you know,
there's a famous picture. There's a famous photograph as well of Johnson and another guy whose name escapes me. It's in my book. I put it in my book. Famous photograph of Johnson's inaugural Air Force One. You know, because they had to obviously swear in the new president immediately. And as he's stood there with his hand, you know, giving the oath, there's this guy stood next to him, winking, kind of like this, so as to say, "We did it," you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very corrupt.
Oh yes, but Johnson, he had a very bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just round it off if I may, and then we can. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, Masonry doesn't believe in murdering anybody in just any old way, you know, and you know, for the JFK assassination, it went to incredible lengths and took great risks in order to make it correspond to the, as I keep saying, the right of the killing of the king. And of course, I mean, a ritual public execution like that was neither the easiest nor the simplest solution to the problem, to say the very least. I mean, it required the intense cooperation of several hundred people and many, many man-months of coordinated and concerted effort to plan, execute, and cover it all up. You know, and although it may seem strange that all this intrigue could even be possible to those who are maybe unfamiliar with the modus operandus of these people, I can assure you that after my 25 years researching the overall Grant conspiracy, not just specifically Kennedy, but you know, not only is this type of operation reasonably frequent, but it's also often never made public at all. You know, but people say to me, well, there'd be whistleblowers by the hundreds coming forward, wouldn't there? Yeah, of course, and there were, but these are controlled by the use of 2 expedient techniques. First of all, by denying them the oxygen of publicity. It's all very well having a story to tell, but if there's no medium by which to make it public knowledge, then the whole exercise is completely pointless. You know, don't lose sight of the fact that the major media in all its forms is totally under the influence of all these people. They're only allowed to print or broadcast what they're told. And as I've already mentioned, more than 200 eyewitnesses and others officially involved on the periphery of these events either had very different views to the conclusions of the Warren Commission, which was the commission that was set up to investigate it, or actually spoke out openly against the official line. You know, these more than 200 people all met very untimely and very mysterious deaths before any real damage could be done by their stunning revelations. So yeah, I mean, to plan an operation like this, I mean, can you imagine the expense and the absolute logistics of it all? It must have been horrendous. All they needed to do was slip him some poison in one of his meals if they wanted to get rid of him. No, it was a planned ritual Masonic execution. And, you know, there is far more to it than I could possibly have covered in the short time we've had today. But, you know, that's, you know, that I think that gives the framework to it. But if anybody wants the full details and the full story, it's there. Okay.
I can vouch for that.
Absolutely brilliant. That really is food for thought, and I think you're spot right on there. It all adds up, doesn't it? It really does. Can't thank you enough, because I've never viewed it from that angle, because I've gone along with all the bullshit, you know, with the grassy knoll and all that old twaddle and all that.
There's no shame in that, mate. I mean, that's what all the bullshit is for, isn't it? To drag people along with it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, you talk about the operation for that, but you look at the moon, getting us to believe that 3 blokes in a tin can could get to the moon and back. You know, I mean, come on. You know, I mean, that was, although it's a need to know basis, isn't it, with most of these things?
Of course.
And
if you pay enough money, you can get anybody to shut up.
Well, that's right. And well, I'll give you an example. I worked on a project once for a broadcasting company. I was freelance, I hasten to add, and I didn't know what it was. And it was a need to know. And when you needed to know, and it was actually in the Seychelles. And I found out on the news later that it was a listening post for the military. I didn't know that. I was working for the architects department. You know, will people speak to me after saying that? I was freelance, so I was only there a couple of months. Right, Kim says, was it where Kim
buy the book, John? Tell us again.
Right, well, you can obviously buy it on Amazon, whatever country you're in, Kim, I don't know. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can email me and I will send you a signed copy.
Which is, there we go. I'm on the ball tonight.
Yes. Now, Kim's actually, she's in her own independent state near Fockham Hall. So that's, yes, so that's
right, okay.
Okay.
So she's not.
Kim of,
yeah.
Kim
well, what's the postage like to Fockham Hall from the UK?
Fucking useless.
Is it?
Fucking cheap. Got to use your phone box, though.
Yeah,
I got to use. That's it. Yeah.
I actually sell signed copies slightly cheaper than the Amazon ones. So if anybody would rather directly from me, not only do you get a signed copy, but you get it slightly cheaper than on Amazon also.
Brilliant. Well, tell you something. This new, I have to say, Deb is fantastic with the chat room, and everything that's going on here far superior than I could be. So thanks, Deb. You're doing a fantastic job. And the check's in the post next week. You know, 3 foot bobs. 3 foot bobs. Yeah. No, seriously, it's a really great job tonight, because I could listen more foot bobs, because I can listen more to what John was saying in that, because normally, you know, you're looking at chat. I'm looking at chat, and that my head's going all over the place. And we had a little jolly in the chat, didn't we? You soon deal with it.
A little sex bot. They were gone.
Well, that is, you know, when you see so much crap that's going to, it's very similar to the astronauts going to the moon. Oh, they saw UFOs and all this crap about cities on the moon and all that. It's all, and it's all diversions. These films are complete diversions. But no, that was interesting. that photograph that I saw just before we came on the show of that security bloke in the middle of the car, flat on the floor.
Yeah.
If he's security, surely he should be protecting Jackie Onassis. That's his job.
So, not himself.
Precisely. Their job is to protect. So what are you doing, laying on the bloody floor like this?
Yeah. Don't shoot me.
That's right. But Johnson, he was not a well man because he actually used to. He was in bed most of the day because he had a heart condition, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yes, and Vietnam stepped up under Johnson. So there's
a psychopath.
Yes,
aren't they all?
Sending mentally people with what do they call it now, special needs to Vietnam. Seriously, he sent, and they called them was it McNamara's goats or something? Idiots. But it's people with a low IQ because they was running out of cannon fodder. They were sending people that couldn't even tie their shoelaces up into Vietnam. That's
Didn't surprise me.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. Now,
bear with me a second. Back shortly.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you something. It's work tonight. You're brilliant at chat. You really are very experienced with the chat room. Far better than I could ever be. And last week I sort of butting in, but I thought, no, I'm not going to butt in. And perfect. And also, you're going to say, hopefully, be 25 bobs if that's all right. Back at, when we do the not this Thursday, but coming on a couple of Thursdays time, because we're going to sort of lead into it.
Yeah.
You do those shows because hopefully it'll work out because we're going to have 2 chat rooms, one on Facebook or one on. That's going to be fun, isn't it? Yeah. Might even have a third on touch. No, I think the computer will manage. But thanks, Deb. That's fantastic. And poor old John suffering. He's a bit common dick with a cold. So, but I told him the rumor. Told him the rumor. What am I talking about? I told him the thing with colds. You know the one with the bicarbonate of soda.
Oh yeah.
You take half a spoonful of bicarbonate of soda. Poor sod, he's really in a bad way there.
No, I'm just about to mute his mic there.
That's it. Sorry, you're going to say, Deb.
I was going to say, what's the thing that you were telling us that you do with coconut oil? Me and my mate were trying to think of the name of it, we couldn't.
Oil pulling.
Oil pulling. Yeah, we did get it right then. Yeah.
I got the coconut. If you get it from, you get a jar of it. It's about $1.50, something like that, from Aldi.
Yeah.
Lidl's done it. Aldi.
Lidl.
Now, all you do is just put a little teaspoonful in your mouth, swish it around for about 20 minutes. First time you do it, you won't be able to do it for minutes, but your muscles get used to it. Yeah. And what it does, there's more germs in your mouth than anywhere else, and it clears all the germs out of your mouth.
Yeah.
And it's surprising. But whatever you do, do not spit it out down the sink. As I did, it clogs you.
Clogs it up, yeah, as soon as it sets.
Yeah. So you know what I do? It's rather disgusting. I spit it out of my compost heap.
Well, that doesn't matter.
And the slugs like it.
Ruby's just saying it's good to swallow because it's good for you. It's coconut oil.
It's good to swallow, but if you're doing oil pulling, you shouldn't swallow it then because you've got all the germs and that, and it go into your stomach. So you spit it out if you're oil pulling. But I actually use it for frying as well. Use it for frying.
I use it in my curries.
The cold remedy, and John might be interested in this, is that it's done by Arm & Hammer in the 1920s, and they had medical investigations into it, and they've said it works, and that is your cold survives in an acidic environment, and 98% of what we eat is acidic. So you want to change it to alkaline, and bicarbonate of soda, you have half a teaspoon in a warm water every 2 hours for the first day, every 4 hours for the second day, and then once in the morning and once at night on the third day. And here we are, Sebastian Moran, 1 or 2 unwaxed lemons and a teaspoonful of soda. Don't eat or drink 2 hours before or after. That's a
Thank
good
you.
one. Sebastian. Yes. Yes.
Oh, V
Oh,
wants to know when Dave's going to be on again.
Well, he's
better.
not been well this weekend.
Yeah.
Bless him. But I don't know. Maybe next Monday. I don't know what your plans are for next Monday, Chris. Or anything.
So far. So yeah, next Monday will be fantastic.
Yeah.
Also,
Well,
a little reminder.
I can't speak for him. Obviously, I mentioned it to him.
Yeah.
Also, you know his heater. Kim paid for the heater, and she hasn't received it yet. But I'm just wondering. I believe you've got some supply.
It's not forgotten, honestly. Yeah, I mean, we think we've fixed it now, but we've had a right job, honestly. The original supply company became useless and in the wrong. On one occasion, we sent one set of parts back 3 times, and you can imagine, bulky stuff like that, how long it takes to come each different way. And this company weren't the fastest, but we have now sourced them elsewhere, and they are making them to our specifications. So it is taking a bit longer, and I do apologise to Kim and anybody else out there who's still waiting. But please believe me, you're not forgotten about. We are doing our best, and we should have them for you in the next week or so.
Superb.
So many apologies.
Thanks. And actually, this is for our Thursday show. A couple of weeks. We're going to be doing happiness and healthy things. We would need these for the show. So these are, shall we say, traditional remedies that work. And that's interesting what Radiant Ruby said there, isn't it, Deb? Steamed onions
and good honey left for 24 hours. Strain and drink is excellent for flu.
Sounds yummy.
It does.
Nice.
Drink. If it works,
Yes.
I don't care.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's surprising, but don't do. But somebody who we won't mention, who's around here, take too much bicarbonate of soda, because the downside is very bad flatulence. And when you take it, you're in and out the loo all the time. But of course, it's getting rid of the germs through your system. So it's a good thing. But I wouldn't be sitting in a car after.
Just when I thought you would. No. Well, it just thought you'd done really well not to toilets at all in any way, shape, or form.
No toilet. Why did you got a dog? Shut up, Rover. Yeah. That joke you cracked the other way. That was a classic.
Get down.
Yeah. I think people appreciated my joke. I've heard that one. Slice raw onion and hold it onto the throat all night. Great for sore throats. I've heard that. You put it in a scarf and tie it around your neck.
They're coming thick and fast.
Yeah, we've got vinegar. Chamomile tea.
Coffee fit. Excuse me.
Cider vinegar makes twitchy muscles and cramps. I need that as well. I've had nothing but cramp in the night lately, and I have enough salt.
What about Himalayan rock salt?
Our friend Shannon.
I use that. Yes.
There's so many people have so many cures. It's like seems to be as many cures as there are people. Shannon in the States, the friend, one of the friends.
Yeah.
She swears by sulfur powder.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Colds.
But the only trouble with sulfur powder, it has the same sort of results as bicarbonate of soda.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You'd be a big stink around the area, Don't light a light, whatever you do, if you're around it. You take out half the street. But, powder. But I mean, the other one, I gave a call out for John of Waltham Abbey, not John, because people thought it was John Amy, it wasn't John of Abbey.
Yeah.
He had problems with his ear. And I saw him, he was at a cafe, and he's going, he wasn't the John I knew. And a very nice lady called Lee, she said, hang on a minute, I know what to do. And she did tapping.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing tapping.
It's a good thing.
But I do it all wrong. you know, and again, we're going to cover this on the Thursday program. It's going to talk about natural remedies and things like that. So it's going to be, again, not this Thursday, but hopefully the Thursday afterwards, if I can bribe enough people to come on. But Deb's going to be on that. So it's you know, it's going to be quite exciting. I'm really looking forward.
I will probably have a problem a week Thursday, mate, I'm afraid.
See, he's booking his problems already.
Oh, should we do our ear? You're watching your ear?
No, seriously, I will have a problem. I won't be able to do next Thursday. I'm sorry, I've got something else planned. That's
all right. Doesn't matter. It's all right. Well, no, because I think Miles is coming on Thursday afterwards. So, you know.
Right.
Yes, a year older Miles will be on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ancient Miles.
Yes, and but we won't be doing any, you know, that natural health. We'll be doing natural health here with him, but we'll also be doing, as I say, remedies and money-saving tips. It'd be a very different program to this. Still keeping the Monday slot, but we're going to be doing the Thursday one. Will be a different process.
What the hell is that?
Sex bots.
Oh no!
Again. So, reporting.
This is the first time I've had sex bots come on here.
Maybe it's because you mentioned the dating thing earlier.
Ah.
I don't know. I just think they just lurk about.
Amazing. Why doesn't YouTube get rid of them?
I don't know.
Why they concentrate on us? You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for coming on the show.
Because that's not going against the agenda, man.
No.
Yes, that's right. Thanks, John. Even though you were suffering and you got this bad cold, but we're doing positive thoughts, so you can probably be better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And thanks, Deb, for coming on. And it just leaves me to say, remember to put the thumbs up and also subscribe. It costs nothing to subscribe. If you're feeling generous, you know, if you found a $5 down the back of your sofa, you can buy me a coffee down below. There, see.
Not his crutch.
Not John's crutch. It's just below that. And
so
when I get enough, I'll share it out. So it'll be one for you, two for me, one for you, three for me. And above all, whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh. Have a laugh. That's it. Thank you very much. And hang on. Isn't that nice, Ancient Ruby?
Thank you for another excellent show.
Thank you, Ruby. I'm not that bad. I'm living.
Stepping all in chat.
Yeah. Thanks.
Right. Thank you very much, everybody. And anything else you want to round off with, Deb, John, Deb? No. Thank you very much.
Just say good night, everyone. And thank you for watching as always.
Yes, thank you. And Codes of the Unknown on Friday night, YouTube, 8 p.m. GMT.
Oh, hang on. Can you plug your website? Where is it? I'm sorry, we haven't mentioned it.
Oh, I've got a banner. We've got a banner, haven't we, somewhere?
Got a banner. Is there somewhere?
It is. I've seen it. Anyway, it's www.codesoftheUnknown.co.uk. I don't know where it is.
We're going to get it.
I've got it. Yeah, there. Everything you need to know is on there. And we do. We've got George Mitrovic that we are interviewing from Australia live on Friday night.
Right. That's interesting. And do you know John can't pronounce his surname?
George Mitrovic.
What is his particular forte?
Bits of all sorts, UFOs, but he has lots of books out on strange facts, of phenomena that have fallen from the sky, and it's quite interesting. So
that's interesting.
Yes.
And Kim's going to buy me a coffee. That's good. On Thursday when we go to the cafe.
Lovely.
In the park. That's nice, isn't it? Cool.
Yeah.
Blimey. Oh, thank you. Oh, that'd be nice. Thank you. But what gets me when you go and have a coffee, to me, it's sort of, to me, there's white coffee, black coffee. That's all there is.
Right.
or frothy coffee. They want this, you want that. You want, no, I just want a bleeding coffee, please. You know?
I just like a cappuccino.
Yeah. So it's simple. Yeah. Thanks, Deb.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thanks, Kim, and thank you, everybody. And falsification of history. That's John's one. Oh, and also my dad's.
Yes.
More plugging. It's available on Amazon now. My World War II. There's a link below again. And so
find the details on Fockham Hall Radio.
Yes, also Fockham Hall Radio, and also you'll find all the information in the details below this video. How about that? Find details about our BitChute site, and thank you for the 3 people that watch the BitChute. No, John from Siam comments on there because as he's in Siam, he can't actually reply on YouTube. Right. Keep blocking him and doing nasty things, so he replies on there, and he does some very good replies. So say hello, John. So please go to BitChute and and do some nice replies on there for him because he can't do that. So thank you very much. So it's Codes of the Unknown, 8 o'clock this Thursday,
Friday,
and Friday.
No, just Friday.
Oh, sorry, it's not Thursday. I get Thursday. Friday.
You've got Thursday on the brain because of the radio thing.
Oh, and a free coffee as well. Feel tight-fisted, And so it's Friday, 8 o'clock.
Yes.
You might have some bloke called Eric Von Essex commenting on there, but
possibly.
Bloody, troll.
You've got no better to do.
Nah. And also next Monday, 8 o'clock, and then hopefully the Thursday afterwards it'll be the new show as well. So
yeah.
Thank you very much. And good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.